I stood in the conference room, my heart pounding. Justin leaned back in his leather chair, smirking. Around us, his inner circle, Matthew and Josh, watched like it was a show. I felt heat rise in my cheeks, but I kept my voice steady. Why was I passed over for promotion again, I asked. My voice echoed across the table. I'd brought in the biggest clients. I worked weekends, evenings, but Justin just rolled his eyes. He let out a loud sigh. You're not leadership material, Michaela, he said. You can't handle the pressure. His tone dripped with condescension. I heard a few gasps, but no one dared challenge him. I felt something snap inside me. If that's how you see me, I said, then I'm done. I paused to let my words sink in. I quit. Justin's eyebrows shot up, then he gave a mocking laugh. You'll be back, he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. You'll never make it out there without this job. His words stung, but I'd expected them. I squared my shoulders, locked eyes with him, and said nothing. My mind was already racing with plans. As I walked out, I heard a chorus of murmurs behind me. Shock, pity, maybe a spark of admiration. I had no idea what would happen next, but I was ready for it. The next morning, I woke up before sunrise, heart pounding with excitement and a hint of fear. My formal resignation letter was open on my laptop. Everything about it was direct. I thanked the company, stated my decision, and made it clear I'd be leaving immediately. I clicked send and stared at the screen, waiting. My phone buzzed. 3, 4, 5 messages in quick succession. Justin's assistant first. Justin wants to see you, now. Then from HR, we need an exit interview. And of course Justin himself. Stop being dramatic. I took a deep breath. I'd prepared for this reaction. Justin liked control. The moment I threatened that control, he'd lash out. But I was done letting him dictate my worth. 10 minutes later, I walked into his office. He scowled like I'd personally insulted him. You're making a mistake, he said, slamming a folder on his desk. You think it's that easy out there? You're nothing without us. I wanted to roll my eyes, but I kept calm. I appreciate your concern, I replied. I'll be fine. He opened his mouth to spew more warnings, but I held up a hand. This is final, Justin. Then I turned on my heel and left. I was free, and he hated it. Outside, I smiled, adrenaline coursing. My plan had officially begun. By lunchtime, the entire firm knew. It was like a shockwave. Michaela James, the consultant who pulled in the biggest deals, was out. Whispers trailed me in the hallway as I gathered my things. I got messages from colleagues, some I'd barely spoken to before. You didn't deserve that, wrote one. I can't believe he humiliated you like that, said another. A junior associate named Layla stopped me in the break room. Her eyes were huge. We all saw what Justin did, she murmured. He crossed a line. Are you okay? It felt surreal. People who never said 2 words to me were suddenly on my side. Maybe Justin's cruelty finally showed his true colors, or maybe they were just curious. Either way, I felt their eyes on me as I packed up my final box of files and stationery. At my desk, I found a small card slipped under my laptop. It read, I believe in you, Chloe. I smiled. Chloe was a quiet analyst, but sharp as a tack. I was grateful for that tiny act of support. As I made my way to the exit, I felt a strange mix of nerves and relief. Everyone saw Justin's public power play, but they also saw me walk away with my head high, and I could sense something shifting. People were rooting for me now. 3 months before handing in my resignation, I'd stared at my bedroom wall, plotting. I'd known Justin would never give me the promotion I deserved. Why keep waiting for recognition that would never come? In a late-night burst of inspiration, I filed the paperwork for my own consulting firm. It felt risky, but also thrilling. I picked a name that captured my vision. MJ Consulting Group. MJ, short for my initials. I kept it all secret. I worked in shadows, making business plans during my lunch breaks. I drew up a client outreach list, focusing on industries I knew well. I even scoped out potential office spaces. They were small, but I only needed a modest start. One night, I got a text from an old college friend who specialized in web design. Heard you might be branching out, she wrote. Count me in if you need a website. I almost jumped with excitement. Word was getting around that I wasn't happy at my job, and my talented friends were on board. So by the time I handed Justin my resignation, I wasn't panicking. I already had my foundation in place. All I needed was the green light and that final push. I slammed my laptop shut that night, satisfaction pulsing in my veins. It was happening. After I left, messages from clients poured in. Some were borderline panicked. "Where are you going? Why didn't you tell us? We need to talk ASAP." I realized how much faith they'd placed in me. I was the face they trusted, the one who answered their frantic calls at 2 a.m. when a marketing campaign was crashing. I was the one who turned dry leads into million-dollar deals. Now, the top 3 accounts, Rexontech, Vela & Co., and Horizon Wellness, were all reaching out. They wanted updates, wanted to follow me. I could sense their frustration with the old firm. Justin and his buddies never gave them the same attention I did. I replied carefully. I didn't want to burn bridges or violate any agreements. "I'm starting something new," I told each of them, "but it's still in early stages. Let's keep in touch." A few hours later, I got a text from Vela & Co.'s chief operating officer. "We're ready whenever you are. Trust you more than anyone else." My heart skipped. This could change everything. I could almost imagine Justin's reaction if he found out. Those were supposedly his prized clients, but deep down, we all knew who really brought them in. I made a quick note in my planner. Follow up with them soon. My wheels were already spinning. In my last year at the firm, I learned how Matthew and Josh operated. Long lunches, golf trips, big talk, and minimal actual work. They cozied up to Justin, feeding his ego. Meanwhile, I was the one reading contracts, spotting errors, and running the numbers. They'd give me side glances during staff meetings, smirking whenever Justin undermined me. One time, Matthew accidentally deleted my client presentation right before a major pitch. Another time, Josh spread rumors that my numbers were inflated. The truth? They felt threatened. Clients asked for me, not them. Senior partners noticed my efficiency. Justin had to face the fact that his prized boys' club wasn't the real engine of success. I remember confronting Matthew quietly after he wiped my presentation. "Was it worth it?" I asked. He just shrugged. "Don't take it personally," he said, then walked off. But I did take it personally. I wasn't going to let them sabotage me anymore. I worked harder, stayed later, delivered results that spoke for themselves. Yet Justin still gave them credit, praising them for team efforts. Now, as I prepared to launch my own firm, I thought about those two. They might have won short-term battles, but this time, I'd win the war. Somehow, I knew they wouldn't see it coming. Just a week after I left, I got an unexpected phone call. The voice on the other end introduced himself as Mr. Clark. "I saw your work when you saved a failing contract last year," he said. "You're the one who turned that near disaster into a $2 million profit, right?" I felt a jolt of pride. Yes, that was me. He explained that he was an investor, always on the lookout for strong entrepreneurs. "I heard you're out of that firm," he continued. "If you want to start something fresh, I'd like to help." I gripped my phone, heart pounding. This was no small deal. Clark was rumored to have deep pockets and serious connections. If he backed MJ Consulting Group, I could fast-track my growth, hire real talent, skip the usual baby steps. "What do you have in mind?" I asked, trying to sound calm. "I'll fund your startup costs. In return, I get a seat at the table and a small equity stake. We move fast, but only if you're ready." I paused, my mind spinning. This was huge. "I'm ready," I said firmly. He chuckled. "I was hoping you'd say that. Draw up a proposal. Let's finalize terms soon." My hands shook when I hung up. Everything was accelerating, and I couldn't wait. Right after talking to Mr. Clark, I grabbed my phone and started texting 2 people I trusted most. First was Chloe, the analyst who'd slipped me that encouraging note. Next was Ryan, a marketing genius who'd left the firm 6 months ago because of Justin's favoritism. Chloe responded immediately. "Are you serious? I'd love to join. Justin's been ignoring my ideas for months. Let's talk details." Ryan was equally enthusiastic. "Yes, I've got fresh ideas and my own client leads. Count me in." Within days, the 3 of us met in a cramped coffee shop. I laid out my vision for MJ Consulting Group, a lean, agile team that focused on real client relationships. Chloe would handle data analytics and client research. Ryan would oversee marketing campaigns and brand strategy. I'd manage client acquisition and overall direction. They loved it. We even debated the coffee shop name for our first official team meeting. It felt surreal, us huddled over laptops, scribbling on napkins, fueled by caffeine and raw ambition. After we hashed out details, Ryan grinned. "We're actually doing this." Chloe gave me a fist bump. I saw hope and excitement in their eyes. Walking out, I felt a wave of gratitude. My new team believed in me. This was the start of something bigger than all of us. A week later, Clark called me with a big opportunity. He had a lead on a high-revenue company, Zenera Solutions, looking for a new consultant. They were ready to invest serious money if the pitch was strong. My stomach flipped. This was the kind of deal that put you on the map. Clark said, "I can arrange a meeting, but you'll have to impress them. They're used to big-name firms." I said yes, without hesitation. I prepped for days, fine-tuning every angle of our proposal. Chloe gathered data on Zenera's industry trends, Ryan developed a sleek presentation, and I practiced delivering the pitch until I could do it in my sleep. Finally, the big day arrived. We walked into Zenera's boardroom. All eyes were on us. 3 newcomers, no massive track record, just hunger and confidence. I could almost sense them sizing us up. But once we started talking, the energy shifted. I spoke about tailored solutions and personal touch. Chloe showed data-backed strategies that sparked interest. Ryan explained how our marketing plan would boost their global reach. When we finished, the Zenera CEO leaned forward. "We've seen a lot of consultants pitch. You 3 actually get it." He glanced at his team. "I'm impressed. Let's do a trial run." I walked out feeling like I was floating. This was it. We'd nailed our first major client. Meanwhile, back at my old firm, things weren't going smoothly. I got a late-night text from a former coworker, Jana. "They're panicking. Clients keep asking for you." Apparently, Justin and his crew were struggling to keep projects on track. Their pride wouldn't let them admit it publicly, but clients noticed delays and mistakes piling up. Some internal documents got lost or mislabeled. A few clients threatened to pull out if they didn't see results. I heard rumors that Justin was forcing employees to work overtime, trying to close gaps. "He's more demanding than ever," Jana wrote, "but he also seems unsure, like he knows something's off." I couldn't help but feel a twinge of satisfaction. For years, I was the invisible glue holding that place together. Now that I was gone, the cracks in Justin's so-called empire were becoming obvious. Still, I was careful not to celebrate too loudly. We had our own challenges at MJ Consulting Group, limited resources, a lean team, and a massive new contract we had to deliver. Failure wasn't an option, but part of me wanted to see Justin squirm. He'd always claimed I was just another consultant. Maybe now he understood my true value. I sensed this was only the beginning of his downfall. Justin tried to smooth things over with the top clients. He called them personally, claiming, "Michaela's on sabbatical. She'll be back soon." The gall of that lie made me laugh when I heard it. One of my main contacts at Rexuntech, Ken, forwarded me an email from Justin's team. They were offering free add-ons, discounts, anything to keep them happy. But Ken was skeptical. He replied to them, "I'd rather wait until Michaela returns." Then he sent me a direct message. "Is it true? Are you really on leave?" I wrote back, "Nope, I resigned. They're spinning stories because they're desperate." Ken's response was immediate. "Unreal. That's enough for me to walk." I told him I couldn't poach him outright. There were legal lines I didn't want to cross, but if he chose to terminate their contract, I'd be open to a conversation. He understood. Meanwhile, the rumor mill churned at the old firm. Employees whispered about how Justin was throwing freebies at clients, hoping they wouldn't notice the lack of real talent on his team. He was basically setting money on fire to hide the truth. He needed me back. I didn't gloat publicly, but I sure felt relieved. Watching him scramble was a reminder that everything was shifting in my favor. News about my resignation wasn't just floating around inside the company anymore. Someone, maybe Jana, maybe another fed-up employee, posted on a business forum. Top consultant left due to toxic leadership. Firm pretends she's on sabbatical. That post blew up, with hundreds of views and comments. People started speculating about the firm's culture. Some ex-employees jumped in, sharing stories of unpaid overtime, credit stealing, and Justin's notorious temper. This was worse than bad PR. It was a direct hit to Justin's carefully crafted image. Potential clients read those forums. Investors read them. The firm was hemorrhaging credibility. I found out about the post when Chloe sent me a screenshot. "This is huge," she wrote. I stared at the screen, my heart thumping. Finally, the truth was coming to light. I knew Justin would freak out. Later, I got a call from an unknown number. It was a client rep from Vela & Co., one of those top 3 accounts I'd nurtured. "So you're not on sabbatical?" she asked. "Is that why our project is stalled?" I told her I'd left. She sighed heavily. "I suspected as much. Justin's team is lying to us." We hung up, and I felt a rush of validation. Everything was unraveling for Justin. The best part? I didn't have to lift a finger. The truth leaked all by itself. I heard from Jana again. "Justin's losing it. The 3 biggest clients gave an ultimatum. Bring you back, or they walk." A part of me was shocked they'd be so blunt, but it made sense. Those clients had always relied on me. Now that they knew I was gone, they had zero faith in Justin's team. The tension soared. Justin called emergency meetings, canceled personal plans, and tried to craft some strategy to lure me back. He even offered to cut fees for those major accounts just to stall them. But the clients were firm. "We want Michaela, or we take our business elsewhere." When Jana told me this, I felt a strange mix of triumph and fear. Triumph because it proved my worth once and for all. Fear because the pressure to perform at MJ Consulting Group was greater than ever. If they came to me, I had to deliver. I braced myself for Justin's next move. He wouldn't go down easily. Would he beg me, offer me a higher position, or try to tarnish my reputation? In any case, the clock was ticking. The ultimatum was set. The clients were restless, and the board members were surely panicking. I knew I'd be getting a phone call soon. I just didn't know how desperate he'd sound. Sure enough, my phone rang the next day. Justin's number lit up my screen. I debated ignoring it, but curiosity won. "Hello?" I answered calmly. His voice was tense. "Michaela, let's be adults about this. The clients are threatening to leave. We can't have that." I stayed silent, letting him squirm. Finally, he continued, "I'm willing to offer you a raise, 15% more, and a creative director title." He paused, waiting for my reaction. When I didn't respond, he pushed further. "You want more? Fine, you can set your own schedule. Hell, you can run your own team." A month ago, I might have jumped at that, but a lot had changed. Justin was only offering this now because his empire was in danger. I exhaled slowly. "I appreciate the offer," I said, "but I'm not coming back." His breath caught. "You're being foolish. Nobody else will give you this chance." I almost laughed. "I already have a better chance, my own firm." He launched into accusations. "You're ungrateful. You owe this company your success." On and on he went, his voice shaky. But I stayed quiet, letting him fume. Finally, I said, "I don't owe you anything. Goodbye, Justin." I hung up, feeling a thrilling sense of closure. He'd officially lost the power he once held over me. Within 4 months, my firm helped Zenera Solutions generate $3 million in new profit. Ryan's marketing plan was a smash success, and Chloe's data insights saved them from costly mistakes. Our results blew Zenera's expectations away. So, we put together a quick case study showing how we turned a modest budget into massive gains. We posted it on our fledgling website. Unexpectedly, it went viral in business circles. People started talking about the new consulting shop that's outperforming bigger players. Requests poured in. Smaller companies, startups, and even mid-sized ventures asked for consultations. I had to hire 2 more people, Hector for project management and Kiara for client communications, just to keep up with meetings. Ryan sent me a link to a trending tweet. "MJ Consulting is the real deal, super responsive, honest, and brilliant." It had hundreds of retweets. I sat back in my small but buzzing office, feeling a rush of pride. These were the fruits of our hard work. The results spoke louder than any rumor Justin could spread. Meanwhile, people at my old firm were noticing. They saw our success. They realized my departure wasn't a fluke, and I could practically feel Justin's rage from miles away. Our star was rising, and I was just getting started. Word reached me that Justin was fuming. Clients and colleagues told me he was accusing me of all sorts of wrongdoing. The worst rumor? That I'd been fired for mishandling funds. It was laughable, but also dangerous. If enough people believed it, it could stain my reputation. I couldn't just ignore it. Chloe tapped away on her keyboard, searching public records and internal memos. "There's zero sign of that," she said, scanning the firm's financial statements that were legally accessible. "They're probably making it up from thin air." Ryan suggested we issue a statement, but I wanted to wait. I knew Justin had no proof. He was likely trying to bait me into a public showdown. But soon, the rumor spread beyond the firm. A local business magazine hinted at financial misconduct linked to my name. It felt surreal. I'd always kept my record spotless. My phone buzzed with concerned texts from clients. "We know you wouldn't do that, right?" I assured them it was false, but the doubt stung. Justin was hitting below the belt. He couldn't beat me with facts, so he used lies. Little did he know, the board at his own firm was about to take a closer look. His fury would spark an investigation that changed everything. I got an unexpected call from a private number. The voice introduced himself as Robert, a member of the firm's board of directors. He spoke in clipped, formal tones. "We've heard unsettling rumors from Justin about your time here," he said. "Before we escalate this publicly, we want to investigate the truth." In the background I heard another voice, probably a lawyer, feeding him lines. Clearly, they were bracing for a scandal. "Investigate all you want," I said. "My record is clean." Robert paused. "We might need your cooperation, access to your email records, your project files." I cut in. "I'm fine with that, as long as we do it lawfully and fairly. I've nothing to hide." A beat of silence. Then he cleared his throat. "Thank you. We'll be in touch." After I hung up, I felt both nervous and relieved. If they truly dug into the finances, they'd see I never touched a penny illegally. But who knew what Justin and his cronies, Matthew and Josh, might have planted or twisted? I called Chloe and Ryan to fill them in. Ryan whistled. This could blow up in Justin's face if they find out the real story. That was my hope. I just prayed there weren't any hidden traps. The ball was now in the board's court. 2 weeks passed, and I heard almost nothing. Then I got a panicked call from Jana. "They found something, but it's not about you." Her voice was shaking. Apparently, during the investigation, the board hired forensic accountants to comb through every transaction linked to the major accounts. They discovered discrepancies. Invoices paid out to suspicious vendors, funds redirected in strange ways, weird timing on certain contracts. It all pointed not to me, but to Justin, Matthew, and Josh. My name came up spotless. They never found a single sign of misconduct in my files or communications. Jana read me part of an internal memo. "Preliminary evidence suggests misappropriation of funds by upper management. Further review required." I felt a rush of vindication, followed by anger. Justin had tried to pin his own crimes on me. That was low, even for him. But now the truth was exposed. I thanked Jana for letting me know and hung up. Then I called Ryan and Chloe to share the news. Chloe laughed in disbelief. "So that's the real reason they wanted to bury you. They had skeletons in their closet." Ryan added, "What goes around comes around. This is huge." Huge indeed. Justin's house of cards was about to come crashing down. Within days, the firm's board compiled detailed evidence against Justin and his closest allies. It was like a bombshell. Emails leaked that showed Matthew and Josh had created fake vendor accounts, funneling money to themselves. Justin approved it all. I saw screenshots of forged invoices, dates that didn't match actual project timelines, payment records that pointed to a shell company registered under Josh's name. It was textbook embezzlement. My heart pounded as I read through the files. I remembered moments when projects ran short on budget or random cuts were made. Justin always claimed it was for the good of the company. Meanwhile, he and his cronies were taking advantage. The final blow was a recorded conversation. Someone must have taped it, where Justin admitted, "We just need to hide the money for a few more months. Then we'll restructure and nobody will find out." That conversation ended any debate. The firm's board had undeniable proof. Meanwhile, my name remained crystal clear. I wasn't sure whether to feel relieved or outraged. All those years, I'd worked day and night, believing the company simply had tight finances. Meanwhile, Justin was stuffing his pockets. Now the truth was out for everyone to see. And I had no sympathy for him, not after what he tried to do to me. The next morning, headlines popped up in local business news. Consulting firm execs face embezzlement allegations. My phone buzzed with calls from reporters, but I declined interviews. I was content to watch from the sidelines. Jana messaged me. "Board just suspended Justin. Matthew and Josh are gone. Apparently fled the country right before the official charges." I could hardly believe it. They actually ran. Justin was left to take the fall. The board forced him to step down as CEO while they launched a formal internal probe. He tried to claim innocence, but the evidence was airtight. The firm's employees were in shock. Some felt betrayed. Others said they weren't surprised, given Justin's shady behavior. Old clients started demanding accountability. A few posted scathing reviews online. We trusted them with millions, and this is what they did? From my little office at MJ Consulting, I watched it unfold. Ryan joked, "They thought you were their biggest threat." Turns out, they were their own worst enemy. Part of me felt a twinge of sadness for the innocent employees caught in the crossfire, but I couldn't deny a sense of justice being served. This was karma in motion. The board had turned on Justin, and there was no going back. Over the next few days, the firm's collapse snowballed. Investors withdrew their funds, leaving the company scrambling to stay afloat. Clients started jumping ship left and right. Some reached out to me, wanting to know if I'd take them on at MJ Consulting. Every news outlet reported on the scandal. CEO suspended in fraud probe, key executives missing, employees allege toxic work culture. Articles quoted ex-staff, some used their real names, others stayed anonymous, telling stories of bullying, intimidation, and fake promises. It was a full-blown public reckoning. The firm's once glossy reputation was now in ruins. Justin tried to do damage control, issuing a statement that sounded robotic. "We are cooperating fully with the investigation." But nobody was buying it. Behind closed doors, the board was negotiating with prosecutors. They wanted to salvage whatever they could. The entire leadership team was under scrutiny. Meanwhile, I was juggling calls from prospective clients. Our small office became a hive of activity as we expanded to meet the demand. Chloe joked that we'd need a second office soon. I stepped outside one afternoon just to breathe in fresh air and realize how much had changed in a few months. Once I felt trapped under Justin's shadow. Now he was crumbling, and I was thriving. It felt both surreal and well-earned. Reporters kept pushing for an interview. I hesitated, not wanting to be dragged into a tabloid circus. But clients and supporters urged me to speak up. They said my perspective mattered. So I decided to make a short public statement. I invited a couple of reputable journalists to a small press event at a co-working space we'd rented for the day. When they arrived, I stood in front of a simple backdrop, wearing my favorite navy blazer. "Thank you for being here," I began, my voice steady. "I want to address the rumors about my time at the firm and my decision to leave." I explained that I left because I felt undervalued and mistreated. I clarified there was no truth to the allegations that I mishandled funds. Then I spoke about my new company, MJ Consulting Group. "We pride ourselves on honesty, innovation, and mutual respect," I said. "We focus on people first, employees and clients." I also acknowledged the chaos at my old firm. "I'm saddened for the hardworking people there," I said, "but I can't speak on the criminal investigation. That's for the authorities." Then I closed with a simple message. Never stay where you're undervalued. Trust your instincts. Build something better. A few cameras clicked. I could see understanding in their eyes. I'd said my piece. My phone lit up afterward with supportive messages. I felt lighter. Days later, I was at a business lunch with a familiar face. The same client who once asked Justin, "Where's Michaela?" The man was now beaming at me across a bustling hotel restaurant. "Glad we reconnected," he said, offering a warm handshake. "Your old firm was a disaster after you left. We should have followed you sooner." I laughed. Better late than never, right? He introduced me to two partners from an international conglomerate. They were looking to expand into multiple countries and needed a solid consulting team to navigate cultural and regulatory hurdles. "We thought of you immediately," he said. "Your new firm has a real buzz around it." I felt a surge of excitement. This was a chance to go global. I pictured our name, MJ Consulting Group, on a global scale, working with clients from all corners of the world. It was a dream that once felt far away. We talked numbers, strategies, timelines. By the end of the lunch, we'd set up a follow-up meeting for a formal proposal. The possibilities were massive. As I left, I remembered Justin's mocking words. "You'll never make it out there." Now people from around the globe wanted my expertise. I got into my car, heart overflowing with gratitude and ambition. This felt like a full circle and a new beginning. When news of Justin's conviction hit, it was all anyone could talk about. He was found guilty of embezzlement and faced hefty fines. A judge froze his assets and he was slapped with possible jail time. Matthew and Josh were still overseas, dodging authorities, but Justin stood alone to take the brunt of the punishment. Articles called him the face of corporate fraud, and it was rumored no reputable firm would even consider hiring him once he was out. Colleagues from my old workplace described his meltdown in court, how he tried to blame everyone else, but the evidence was too strong. In some twisted way, I felt a pang of pity, but it was overshadowed by relief. He'd brought this on himself. All those years of stealing credit, abusing power, and ridiculing those who contributed real value, it finally caught up to him. I heard through the grapevine that the firm was in talks for a merger or complete acquisition, just to stay afloat. Several of its best employees had already resigned, citing toxic leadership. It was a sad end for a once promising company, but I couldn't dwell on that. I had my own success to nurture and a new wave of clients demanding our services. Justin's reign was over. My path was wide open. I sat in my new office, staring through glass walls at the bustling city skyline. My team moved with purpose, taking calls, closing deals, brainstorming in quick huddles. The space buzzed with energy. I glanced at the plaque on my desk. MJ Consulting Group, founder and CEO, Michaela James. It felt unreal sometimes, but every day I reminded myself I'd earned this. Behind me, a framed quote caught my eye. It was simple black text on white paper. "You'll never make it without this job." Justin's words. I'd typed them out and hung them as motivation. Each time I felt doubt creeping in, I looked at that quote. It reminded me of how far I'd come. My phone chimed. Another potential client wanted a meeting. Ryan stuck his head in. "We just signed an agreement with that international partner. Big expansion." Chloe pumped a fist in the air, grinning. I stood up, scanning the room. We were bigger than I ever imagined, and still growing. "Let's celebrate after work," I told them. My heart fluttered with pride. I walked to the window, sipping my coffee, recalling the day I walked out of Justin's office. I remembered his sneer, his arrogant laugh. I smiled now, a quiet, confident smile. "Watch me," I whispered to that framed quote, and I felt like I could conquer anything.